Hey, everybody. I hope you guys are all doing great. So, those of you who are watching this from our private tribe of autoimmune health rebels, I just want to take a moment to say thank you and welcome to our group. You're in for a special treat next week when we start our whole week just talking all about detoxification in all aspects of your life to really transform and up level everything that you do. So I want you to take away everything you believed about yourself, as well as what you believe about your condition, and come with an open mind. Download whatever workbook that's going to be delivered to you in your inbox by this Friday. And if you have not signed up, I will make sure that Leslie includes the link to sign up to our workshop next week on all about autoimmune detox challenge for 7 days, complete with mindset shifts, because you can't really do the mechanics without the mindset, right? Mechanics are what to do, but if you don't shift from the inside to really believe wholeheartedly in what's possible, nothing you do is going to be long-term. And I'm really committed to you having long-term transformative results in your lives, living with autoimmunity, using it as a gift. It's a catalyst for change and transformation. I believe it's something that we can utilize to think that it's given to us as a challenge to be better, to do better, and to be the change that we seek to see in the world today. And whatever it is, I want to elevate you in the way you think about yourself through the process of learning from the challenge, so that you can truly be empowered to do everything you can to help yourself to embody the best version of yourself. So by the time we get done with you, you will be so much healthier and happier because of it. So today I want to talk to you guys about breaking the habit of being yourself. I love this topic because about a year ago, I was bedridden and I was hospitalized and I was super sick. And I picked up this book as to recover myself because it really set me on the path to inquire more and be more curious about what it is that drives our chronic inflammation and autoimmunity. And at the time, it was far from my lupus or my autoimmune condition. What really prompted me to be hospitalized and really be sick to a point of almost being in my or near to my death was everything but my autoimmunity. It was all the turmoils that I had in my life. And I truly believe, after being seen by oncologists, infectious disease, internal medicine, rheumatologists, cardiologists, and all the specialists within the hospital, all of them just shrugged their shoulders. And they just kind of see me through just almost in deathbed, and then just saw me just coming out once everything was figured out, and nobody to this day knows what happened. And so to that end, believe in miracles, believe that anything's possible. But I also want you to always know that if you can only have power and dominion over your body as a result of this autoimmune experience and use it as a catalyst for change, that's all I can hope for you, because then you can begin your self-healing journey. And it's the process of change and transformation over time that's going to up-level you in just about every aspect of your life. And so our goal at this tribe of autoimmune health rebels is all about elevating you so that you can be your best, and to empower you with all the tactics and mechanics so that you can do your best, so that you can embody the best version of yourself, living the healthiest life, not just surviving, but thriving. And so today marks about a year and a half, really, because I was hospitalized in May of last year. And I picked up this book by Joseph Dispenza. Those of you who don't know his work, he's amazing. He was in the Netflix, documentary. I think it's called Healing. And he was very impressionable. And I was always seeking for more answers. And he talks a lot about this quantum physics of being. But more than that, it can get a little woo-woo-y. But what was really impressionable for me that he taught me, or I learned from his book, was that making changes in our lives is a choice, not a reaction. That our beliefs that we hold to be true are subconsciously programmed. And unless we bring awareness to them, we can't break the habit of being. Because everything that you are right now is a result of your habits of whatever you do or not do. We're committed to our habits every day. And unless we look at those habits, and if you don't like where you are, we have to look at those habits to change, because these are conditioned automatic actions we take on a daily basis that if you don't closely examine what they are, we can't shift them to change. We can only change short term. And I'm going to explain to you why willpower doesn't work and why a lot of the programming is what we need to change. And we can really bypass our crazy brain, because all the habits is at the brain level. And so if you can change these things in that way and really hack your brain to change your habits, then you're going to be well on your path on your self-healing journey. The good news is that we can retrain ourselves to be the best versions of ourselves. And that requires, like I said, changing your habits. Because, like I said, everything that you do is because you are the habit of doing it. Okay? And all the foods that you eat, if you look year after year, day after day, week after week, there's similar things that you eat, right? The relationships that you tend to have, they're highly habitual in nature. The financial situation, your career, health creation, all of it is a result of your habits. Everything that you don't do or have is because you're in the habit of not doing it or having it. You're committed to, if you are used to just watching Netflix all the time, and you say you want to be here, but you're doing all these things, that means you're in the habit of, and you're committed to binge watching Netflix. We're all committed to something. The question is, what is it? It's like when we wake up to it, then we realize, oh my goodness, if I say and pay lip service to doing this, then I better do this. But you keep going back and doing the same thing, right? How many of you had New Year's resolutions, and year after year, you decide you're going to be changing something, and then you decide and you're going to do it, and then it only takes a little bit of an urge or a temptation to knock you off, to reset you back to your habitual patterns. And we're no longer, we're not better off because of it. So, but with respect to autoimmunity, I want you to think about a lot is on the line if you don't change what you don't like if you don't like the results that you're creating right now. Because what would happen if you don't commit to creating health for yourself a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? For me, I decided long ago, I don't want to be dependent on others to take care of me. I don't want to, because as a physical therapist for over 20 years, I see a lot of degeneration. I see a lot of functional decline. I've seen a lot of geriatric patients who get their freedom taken away, and they have to go into assisted living, and they can't really fend for themselves, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. They can't do the things they used to do. And so that's why I enjoy yoga. I enjoy all the motor activity because it keeps my mind sharp. I love reading because I want to be always going towards something. I don't want to stay the same because aging itself is inflammatory, so much so that if I don't change my habits to create a better future for myself, I'm afraid of where I'll end up a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And depending on how you think about your condition sets the path and the trajectory for how you're going to live your life. And so I want you to really be attentive to what it is that you do day after day, right? Because like I said, everything that you do or don't do or have or not have is a result of your habits. So simple change in the habits can really steer you in the right direction. Sometimes you need a guide, a clear mentor to take you and make you see what we see in your life to be able to change these things. Unless that happens, a lot of the times it's blindsiding to us who are living this to realize certain things, because some things are so automatic in nature that that's what we have a tendency to do. Just repeat the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But so as long as we keep doing and holding on to our habits, there's no way that we can go or move in the direction of health. So let's talk a little bit about the fundamental principles of habit that I learned from my mentor, and who I read a lot of his works and learn from, is Jim Fortin. He talks about how 95% of what you do is habitual. This is scientific, right? Psychologically proven that 95% of what we do and think and feel are all habitual, right? And so you really have to think about that 95%, you guys. And so it's everything that you do from the moment you wake up, open your eyes, to the moment you go to bed, time you go to bed, when you eat, if you exercise, or the thoughts and the feelings and the relationships, all the things that happens in your given day. 95% are what you do is habit. This is because our brain is equipped to be efficient. It likes to hack. It likes the shortest path, right? Path of least resistance. We like convenience. We like what's easy. We like what's familiar. And so it's really always working to really connect it and program your brain in that way. And so that's how we've been living all our lives. And all habits are not about your character. It's all about your brain, right? It's the wiring of your brain. It's brain-based. And you can create anything you want with the right habits, is why we're talking about this today. Because if you want better health, if you can just look at your habits of what you do, just really the breaking the habit of being yourself, right? So what does that mean? It's really choosing to look at everything that you do from day-to-day basis to make sure that it's taking you towards where you want to go. And that's towards the direction of health. If you're not, then guess what? Things are going to fall the other way. And we're at greater odds with our health that is going to decline a lot faster than those without autoimmunity. So it's super important. And it's important that you are aware that you are not your habits, right? Just like you're not your thoughts, you're the thinker of your thoughts. You can create better habits, but we have to tap into our prefrontal cortex, our ability to plan and change, right? And really learn the skills of dismissing the urges when they come up, to really change our habits and really bring them to the surface and really rewire them, right? And our reptilian brain thinks that habits are survival mechanisms, because like I said, we evolved as human beings to make everything more efficient, right? On the driveway home, right? A lot of the times I pull up in my driveway, I have no idea how I got here because it's so conditioned. I know how to get home. And sometimes on the weekends, I drive to work and halfway through, I'm like absent-minded because our world is so crazy. I've done that one time where I was driving to work and I'm like, oh no, I should have made a right, not a left turn, but it was an automatic. And then I had to stop and think about it, right? Because that's all I do when I drive is I go to work. It's very rare that I go anywhere else because I'm not the driver on the weekends. So things like that is something I want you to pay attention to, right? And willpower does not work to break habits at all. A lot of people think if only I can fight with my habits, willpower, right? Willpower will always lose to your habitual cycle because that sheer willpower will never change habits at all. You need a better strategy. You need a better technique, right? Or a mechanism. All habits, you need to remember, starts with a single thought, right? And our thoughts are constantly going to other thoughts. right? And so when we are doing something, right? Let's say you are trying to break the cycle of drinking wine with dinner, for example. And the moment the clock strikes at 5, you might be tempted to do something because there's dinner time, and then there's the wine. And then the more you try to repress the wine, or even carrot cake, let's say after dinner, dessert, right? The more you try to repress it with willpower, it gets bigger, it gets amplified. That's why deprivation in diets never work, because it just gets bigger. And then when we splurge and when we are not repressed anymore, we just go at it. And this is proven time and time again as a registered dietitian working in weight loss. In my career, it never works for long term, okay? And no thought is more powerful than the brain that created it, right? So if you created the habit, it means you're the only one who can break it. How you do that is to really not ignore the habit or the urge when it comes up. Be clear about what habits you need to establish better health. It might be looking at all the things that you tend to do that takes you away from building the health goals that you want. And then also looking at what things you don't do that you ought to do. For example, I believe you need a movement sequence every day. You need to be moving to help your metabolism, to build your muscle, because muscles are hugely important in your ability to fend off, to be mobile, to be functional, all the things. I can't emphasize building muscle enough. So if you're not exercising on a day-to-day basis, maybe you start out small. Maybe it's walking 5 minutes, right? Taking the stairs, or walking one flight of stairs up for 5 minutes, and put it at the exact same time that you want to do that, right? So when you wake up, for example, you want to do a brain dump session to clear out what's in your head. Or if you want to eat better, you want to pre-plan the meals for the week, right? So that you're better prepared, so that there is very little room and you don't give any room for error. It's when we do give room for error, then that's when we get into trouble, okay? So these are some things that I want you to think about. One, really look at all the habitual things that's taking you away from achieving your goals, right? So if you looking at the diet, movement, right? The thoughts, the stressors in your life, the relationships, the feelings that stems up, and sleep cycles, hydration. These are all things that you can talk about and see what the habits are there. How are they, right? And then from there, decide, where do I want to go and fix to improve my health? And what are some of the things that I want to put in place to improve my habits, right? And so really think that through, and I want you to start to do that. I'm going to give you an example of, flossing as a habit, right? They said, to floss the whole teeth was too much. But if you pick up the floss and decide you're going to do this left molar every day to start, you start to do that every single day, and it becomes easier and easier to move on to the second molar. And then maybe the third week, go to the top left. And then eventually you can add all of them. As far as the exercise, 5-minute walk becomes 10 minutes, or even 6 minutes to 7 minutes. Be patient with yourself when you really do these things. There's a concept in Japanese called kaizen, right? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with that one tiny step. So you have to pace yourself. You can't build Rome in one day. Don't get impatient and berate yourself. Always know when you slipped and you didn't do that one day, the habit that you wanted, and start with one habit a day, right? If you didn't do it that day, then don't berate yourself. And if you slipped, get right back on the horse and don't get derailed by it, and expect it and be graceful with yourself, right? And so I want you to really think about it. And I'd love to know, what are some of the habits that's serving you? What are some of the habits that you want to declare that you want to create, right? It can be small things. How do you sleep? Maybe if you want to sleep more, you might have a ritual. You might go to bed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock sharp, or play some meditative music, or drink chamomile tea to kind of wind down, or you make a habit of turning off all the TV or electronics past 7 o'clock. Things like that. Have non-negotiable things in place to help you establish the right habits. Through the whole month, there's going to be more in our social media feeds, in our Instagram, as well as Facebook, as well as our live launch next week, to kind of give you guys tips and tools to better establish these habits. But if you took anything away from our time together today, I want you to know habit is everything. Where you are, what you're being right now is a result of your habits. So if you want to switch and change that, all it requires is to change your habits. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and please, 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 it would be so much to me if you can leave us a review on iTunes. It really does help us to really reach more people with this podcast. And as you guys know, very different. I am very different in my approach to health and wellness. I like to think differently, and I like to do differently. And I really like to get rid of all the excess and get to the point to get you from sick to health in the fastest amount of time, and make sure that you have dominion over your body to elevate you, to empower you, so that you can embody the best version of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys all next week.